I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
I'm not even supposed to be here today! Oh, fuck you!
Come on, you want me to drive? You're supposed to be suicidal. Remember, I'll
Anybody
drive.
a drive?
Get in the car.
Fuck me in the ass. Fuck you, you fucking stupid cunt.
Hey everyone, it's Don G. Corleone here, and I am here with a brand new epic movie review. And this epic movie review is going to be for the even better sequel to 2014's Paddington, Paddington 2, once again directed by Paul King. Yeah, and this was released in the UK in 2017, but released in the US in 2018. But technically it's a 2017 film. So what's the plot of Paddington 2? Well, ever since the events of the first film, Paddington has been happily settled with the Brown family in Windsor Gardens. He's become a popular member of the community. He spreads joy and marmalade wherever he goes. Then one day, while searching for the perfect present because his Aunt Lucy is about to have her 100th birthday, Paddington then spots a unique pop-up book in Mr. Gruber's antique shop and performs a series of odd jobs to buy it. None of them have turned out successful. Then the book is stolen, and so Paddington is framed and sent to jail for 10 years. But eventually Paddington befriends the prisoners and one named Knuckles, played by Brendan Gleeson, who, as this time there comes, like the Browns have to unmask the thief and clear Paddington's name. Yeah, so how was this movie made? Well, it was around April 2015, 3 months after the first film's North American release, where the Paddington 2 was confirmed to be in development. Filming began in October 2016 and ended in June 2017. And so, after Paddington 2 was officially shot and marketed, it was released in November 10, 2017 in the United Kingdom and December 6, 2017 in France. It was released, though, in January 2018 for the North American release, much like the first film was. And when this came out, it grossed $227 million worldwide. And when it came to the reactions of the movie, Paddington 2, believe it or not, got widespread critical acclaim on Metacritic and gained this approval rating 100% on Paid Critics' website, and it became the highest rated film on the site before getting its first negative review in 2021, 3 years after its release. And pretty much the highest amount of reviews to causing 100% since Toy Story 2. And get this, it held that 100% for 3 years. 3 years is very surprising. Usually, a negative review will happen in about a few weeks, but a negative review for Paddington 2 didn't happen until 3 years later. Much as I hate that website, it's something. And the movie appeared on numerous lists of best films of the year and of the 2010s even, and got 3 nominations at the British Academy Film Awards for Outstanding British Film, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Actor in Supporting Role for Hugh Grant. Which I can agree with, because Hugh Grant was actually very entertaining as our new antagonist in this movie. Yeah, but despite its success, though, a third film didn't happen until 2024. For obvious reasons. But as for my reaction, well, I gave the first film a first-time watch, loved it, so I knew I had to watch the sequel because just about everyone was saying it was even better. Well, guess what? They were all correct. And hell, I remember this movie was in that movie, The Unbearable Weight and Massive Talent with Nick Cage and Pedro Pascal, where Pedro Pascal's character says, Paddington 2 is his character's favorite movie of all time. And then at the end, the movie literally ends with Nick Cage and his fictional family watching the film. The fictional version of Nick Cage in that movie and his fictional family actually watching that film and finding out he's right. So that was a pretty funny moment in that film. And now it's my time watching it. And it's actually a pretty great film. This is an example of a sequel that is even better than the first film, and easily the fourth best family movie of the 2010s behind Toy Story 3, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and Kung Fu Panda 2. In fact, it's easily the best live-action family movie sequel of the 2010s. And easily, to my eyes, the best film adaptation of a live-action film adaptation of a children's character or icon. This is a movie where you start off learning how Paddington got adopted by Aunt Lucy, where you see like how the whole neighborhood now really praises Paddington. You see more heartfelt scenes with the character and the Browns, and to the point where it actually does make the viewer really tear up and really connect with the character even more than the first film did. Right here, like Paddington 2 really captures even more childhood essence in the viewers and really wins out most in some of the characters. With our new characters, you have Brendan Gleeson playing the nasty at first Knuckles, but once like Paddington is assigned to work with him, and Paddington gives him that stare, he starts to warm up to Paddington. And right there, like the whole film is childish, but it's not childish of like silly and immature. Like it's a definition of pretty much like the silliness of a child's imagination. The whole film shows and plays scenes as a child would imagine things to be, like how the prison works, or the lovely idea that the warden reads the inmates a bedtime story after Paddington really starts to gain the whole prison's respect to help them all go to sleep. Yeah, there are also really superb performances from all the actors and a big number of cameos. Like the small scenes in this movie, like they're very done with great love from the whole cast. Like Hugh Grant in this movie, he's our new antagonist in this one. He really gives a superb over-the-top performance as the big bad, and really looks like he's having a great time in the role. It really flexes his vocal talents here. The film is really done in bright colors, and it's a superb musical backing track. Like when you're watching the film, like they even try to have you pay attention to like these small little details, and where they have the newspaper headlines or this Brown's Kitchen's to-do list, like even great number of little jokes in the background even. It's like, so how do we start it off? Well, we start off the movie with a flashback to how Paddington got adopted by Aunt Lucy and his uncle at the time, right there. And this sadly ended up being the very last time we hear Michael Gambon voice this uncle character, because eventually in 2023 he had passed on. So this is pretty much the last time you hear this voice performance of the character. And one of the last performances he did. It's nice to hear. It's definitely nice to see how Paddington got adopted by these two. Why we saw him first living with them in the first film. Before that, events of that story started off. And then after that, you see more of Paddington's life. He's now living with the Brown family. The Brown family now really like him. Like, even Mr. Brown, who hated him in the first film, now he's actually much more warmer with Paddington in the way, and even appreciates Paddington's compliments. Like, you can tell he's really gotten character development here. The character development has really shown in the Browns. I mean, yeah, now, the Browns' daughter has kind of broken up with Tony, but it's not like it's not really that important, so it doesn't really get paid attention to much of. So it's a happy ending override I'm actually fine with. There. Then we see more of how the neighborhood views Paddington now. The whole neighborhood now loves him. He reminds the neighbor to not forget his keys in time, and even like all the neighbors really love him now. In a way, like neighborhood's become a better place since then. And then Paddington begins working to buy this pop-up book of London, but he finds an antique shop because his Aunt Lucy's birthday's coming up and stuff, so he wants to make sure it's a really great book. So, in order to get the money it costs, Paddington performs several odd jobs, like he tries to get a job as a hair at a barber shop, and this one guy comes in while the owner's away. And his clumsy mishaps keep up happening. Stuff. So he accidentally shaves off the back of the guy's head. So he tries to stitch the hair back together with marmalade. And it doesn't work. And it falls off. And the guy even notices it. And of course, like, the whole razor then gets tangled up on the whole fan. And then it counts as a fire hazard. And that gets Paddington fired. And he asks Mr. Brown, have you ever been fired before? Like, you still have a lot of the clumsy mishaps Paddington really does get himself into, but that's another one of the things that makes him such a lovable character, because he always has such funny mishaps, even through his acts of kindness, even way. Like, it's not like intentional. Like, he's still trying to get adjusted to this world. Like, he's never used all these gadgets before because he's a bear. He's from Peru. They're like, and of course, and then he tries to do window cleaning and saves his wages. Then one night he witnesses this burglary at the shop and the book gets stolen. Paddington tries to go after the thief, but then the thief frames Paddington and he gets arrested. And of course, the real culprit, who's our big bad Hugh Grant's character, Phoenix Buchanan, that the Browns meet at this carnival. He has escaped with the book because there's no evidence of the thief. Paddington is sentenced to 10 years in prison. And that's where you know the story's going to go. Paddington's framed for a crime, and the Browns have to pretty much clear his name. Like, right there. Like, the journey to get to the sheer delight is definitely from start to finish. Like, the story is beautifully textured and it works perfectly. The visuals are carried off very well, and the editing, it really does well in transitioning between scenes, and it's very imaginative and cleverly executed. And the script is very warm, witty, and very funny. It's got Jeopardy and memorable characters, even. It's definitely kind of what a family movie script really should be. And the whole cast is still excellent. Ben Whishaw voice acting as Paddington is still very superb. Even more, in fact, it's even better. It's even better performance. The first one's performance was still great, but his voice performance is even better in this one. Right there. And our new characters are great. You have Brendan Gleeson playing the chef named Knuckles, who also is a pretty great character, where he does start to slowly befriend Paddington. And Hugh Grant, easily the funniest character in the movie, the funniest part of the movie easily, where he's kind of like his character kind of spoofs himself and even demonstrates unsuspected versatility. And he has this perfect song and dance routine over the end. Like, it's definitely pretty funny moments, and like, the whole character has many funny moments too, like, where you kind of have a bit of a brief Bunzel innuendo with him, but it's not like an over-crude one, and I'm willing to live with it. In fact, hell, that innuendo actually was funny. I'm gonna admit that was an innuendo that actually got a laugh out of me. Those are like the whole the Buns joke that his character has at one point around like the climax of the film. Those are the kind of innuendo. That right there is how you do a crude innuendo in a children's flick. That's how a crude innuendo or adult humor in a kid's flick should be done. That scene is how to do it. Not some over annoying fart joke or burp joke or no, like how Paddington 2 did this kind of little brief innuendo or entendre actually was funny. Right there. As it was brief. Like, the cinema photography was very excellent. You really have this nostalgia feel set like the modern times, where you kind of like watching some of the older 50s to 70s family films, or aspects such as like the steam trains and the architecture and the prisons, and in a way, like, it really does well. And the shots of Windsor Gardens, and the tourist view of London, they feel very spectacular to look at. And the theme of good versus evil really reigns supreme throughout. And of course, that is a great message that together with love conquers all in community spirit. And of course, like, now, sadly, the author of the Paddington books, Michael Bond, had also pretty much died on the last day of filming. And it's pretty sad that he never got to see this even better sequel. Because I have a feeling he definitely would have really loved it if he had got to live to see this movie. Right there. Like, Paddington 2 is proof that with real care, like a sweet character that was from children's books or has some cartoon series, not only can just pull off a live action adaptation of him that ends up being surprisingly good, but he actually can pull off a sequel that is just as good and actually much better. An even better movie. The first Paddington's a great movie, yeah, but it's a movie that kind of had more of the fish out of water tropes that you do see in a lot of stories, but it actually did those cliches well. Here, you have more further grown-up challenges that Paddington actually has to face about whether he can help everyone, or pretty much now he has to kind of clear his name and get out of jail. These are some really adult situations that Paddington really finds himself in this movie. He does go through more fish out of water elements in prison, but they're much harder to get through. So, while Paddington is in prison, he meets Knuckles, who the prisoners are, at first, Paddington is put on laundry duty, and he accidentally mixes a red sock with all the prison clothes, and then Paddington realizes his mistake, and he's like, well, it's just one red sock, what could go wrong? All the prisoners' clothes are all pink now, and they're all just staring at him angry. Oh my god, I'm sorry. Of course, then, they're fed this oatmeal that Paddington doesn't like, and this one prisoner tells, you could go take it up to the Chef Knuckles. If you do that, we'll probably try to make it look like, we'll try to ignore the fact that you now made us look like a bunch of pink flamingos. Of course. So he takes up to the chef, and so Knuckles hires Paddington to work in the kitchen after Paddington gives Knuckles one of his marmalade sandwiches, and right there, and so then of course when they meet each other, Knuckles insults Aunt Lucy or Miss Brown or one of them, and but Paddington doesn't yell at him or anything. Paddington just gives him this angry stare, and Knuckles like, what are you doing? It's a stare. I give it to people when they don't learn their manners. It's what my Aunt Lucy taught me. And then Knuckles does start to actually warm up to him after that, so I really like that. I like there was no yelling arguments, and Paddington didn't get all pissed off, and Paddington handled it pretty maturely. So meanwhile, the Browns, when we get to their plot of the story, they're trying to help prove Paddington's innocence by putting up sketches of the thief all over London, while the villain is using clues within the book to locate a hidden fortune. So, Mary and Harry are growing suspicious of Buchanan, and Brown searches his home in his pajamas at one point, and discovers a secret attic filled with numerous costumes, including the one he wore during the burglary. Then he presents the evidence to the police, though, but the police don't believe it, and Paddington was convinced that the Browns have started to forget him because at one point in the movie, Knuckles even tells Paddington that eventually they're going to forget you, and that line does really get deep, and throughout and you get a bit of a montage where after the prisoners eat the marmalade sandwiches, they end up loving it, and they end up giving Knuckles and Paddington more recipes, and then of course they start having more food that usually you would not have in prison, and one prisoner is about to have a piece of cake and eat with his hands, and Paddington's like, shouldn't you eat that with a fork? And then, of course, there's a chocolate fountain even. Paddington dips some stuff in chocolate, gives it to one of the guards, and the prisoners are much more happier and becoming more nicer than before, as you see in the whole little song-like montage. Right there, they're much more warmer, and Paddington actually becomes popular, pretty much becomes all the prisoners his friends. And even the guard is now telling a bedtime story to all the prisoners. As well. And Paddington's little kindness and likability as a character really starts to change the entire prison in this movie. So, after Paddington is convinced that before I get to that part, the Browns do visit him at one point, and all the prisoners are there with Paddington in the visiting area. And of course, Mr. Brown thinks he's turned off the microphone, but it's actually just the lights. It's how do we know we can trust any of these people? We can't trust them. And Knuckles we can hear you. You just turned off the light. The microphone button is right over there. And Mr. Brownvin feels bad for his actions, oh, my bad. Did I forget? I hope I didn't offend any of you guys. Like, no, it's fine. And, like, yeah, like, this film had me laughing so hard So, Paddington and Knuckles, like, Knuckles promises that they're going to clear Paddington's name either now or never, so Paddington agrees, seeing he has no other option, and thinking the Browns are starting to forget about who he is. So, Paddington and Knuckles, along with two other inmates named Phipps and Spoon, they escape the prison at midnight. But, however, it turns out they weren't going to clear his name, and they reveal their true intentions to flee the country, and Paddington ends up abandoning them, and like here, like it's a bit of a liar revealed. It's kind of a bit of a liar revealed or third act breakup cliche, but this one does it more subtle. Like the prisoners here, they've really grown to love Paddington, and they really hate the idea that they have to kind of reveal the truth. Like if they knew if they revealed the truth, Paddington wouldn't go with them. And they feel horrified. They kind of, and Knuckles does kind of feel a little bad that he has to kind of reveal Paddington their truth, and he had to lie to Paddington because you can tell like they've really become such great friends when they first met. So it's kind of the prisoners just kind of feel sad that they kind of have to lie to Paddington right there. And so Paddington uses this public telephone to contact the Browns, and the Browns had found out that Buchanan is the real thief all along. So they have to go expose Buchanan and clear Paddington's name. So they arrange to meet at Paddington Station, the very station that the Browns first met Paddington in the first movie, where this carnival train is carrying the hidden fortune that's due to depart. Like, what really makes the film a delight is the ensemble of likable characters and the writers' steadfast commitment to making this a fun film, like where Paddington's winning over the prison by serving homemade marmalade sandwiches, and Hugh Grant being this fun and enjoyably hilarious over-the-top villain that even you like his character. He's the big bad of the movie, but you still enjoy the character so much because of how much of a lovable villain he is. And how much Hugh Grant is having fun with the role. The movie, like, it's a movie that's infused with fantasy charm and innocence, and many laugh out loud moments, and right there, and such as like the haircut scene or the forensic witness played by Richard Adelade. Like throughout, like this whole entire movie having a theme of pure loyalty and commitment, and lengths that people are going to go to for the ones they love, and like this movie's definitely not a cash-in. Like you got the phenomenal effects, especially Paddington's tour through the pop-up book. Every aspect of the film shows loving care and attention. Like you can tell, like when they were making a sequel to Paddington, you could tell they really came up with a great story to be able to actually make the sequel perfect, to make the sequel work. Like it's everything you'd want from a children's family movie and a sequel to a children's family movie that everybody loved. It's entertaining, it's not dumb, like it's perfect for both kids and adults. It's innocent and also clever. It doesn't really offend intelligence for the adult audience, and it's got a beautiful message that just about everybody would understand. And it's not like a preachy message. It's a message that's written thoroughly well. So after this garbage truck guy helps Paddington get to the station and sneaks Paddington there, he has him pretend to be a bin. This one guard notices him, is like, no, you didn't see it. There's nothing to see here, just a bin. And the guard actually does fall for it, like, oh, whatever. And then, of course, Paddington then boards the train before it leaves. And the Browns do follow him as well. But then Buchanan sees that Paddington has escaped and locks Paddington inside the train's caboose and severes the whole coupling before Harry subdues him in this whole little sword fight and of course, like, one of the family members says try shooting him with this gun, but it turns out it's this little plunger BB gun that doesn't do anything. It just gets stuck to Buchanan's head, and she realizes that Buchanan was right, that the gun was not real. And so yeah. Right there, Henry Brown subdues Buchanan, and the caboose rolls in. Then, of course, during the whole chase, during this great train showdown, the caboose rolls into a nearby river, and Paddington is now trapped inside. And of course, this actually was a very emotional moment right here. Like, as much as you still know, once again, Paddington is going to survive this whole scenario. Like, the first one had this near-death scenario for the character, where he had to escape this whole vent that Nicole Kidman's character was lying on fire, and the whole vacuum suctions were running out of battery, and he almost fell, and then thankfully Mr. Brown saved him. Right there. That was a very chilling moment where you actually were scared for Paddington. Here, you're even more... They managed to do a even more intense scenario where you're even more scared for Paddington in this one, because this one, though, he's trapped in this caboose that goes into the water. He can't even get out of it, and he's drowning. And of course, Miss Brown actually manages to dive in because we find out in the movie that she's training to go to be swimming for France. She manages to dive off a bridge, tries to set Paddington free from the caboose, but it won't work. And so it seems like Paddington really will die here, and not even the Browns can save him this time. But that could have happened. However, Knuckles, Phipps, and Spoon, they were on this plane escaping, and they started to you could tell they were starting to feel guilty about all their lie, that they lied to Paddington about clearing his name. At first, we gotta stick with the plan, but it's clear they, off-screen, they had second thoughts and decided to go back, and they go back and they help Miss Brown save Paddington right there, and Paddington's really unconscious, and so they take him back home so he can recover. The story is really elevated here. Ben Whishaw continues to take a character that really gets, now, because of his performance, gets a sense of honesty that makes his optimism more genuine. And so in fact, you really see him work hard to try and find what makes people think better for themselves. And also, our over-the-top villain, Buchanan, who is hammy, but is also just a scene stealer right here. And also has a perfectly casted actor in the role. Heck, honestly, this guy was a much better villain than... Nicole Kidman was an alright villain in the first film. They managed to improve the villain here with Hugh Grant and actually made it a much better villain. Right in this story. The story's even interesting, where Paddington just wanted to get a present and had to confront how sometimes the world can be a little mean. He finds most of his answers in the prison he has to go to when he gets framed, and how far his human family sets to get him out. And the climax, the climax in the first one was pretty action-oriented. This one is definitely a lot more action-oriented, especially for a film called Paddington 2, especially because it's a thrilling train chase this time. In the first film, Paddington was trying to escape from a museum because he was about to be stuffed. This time it's a thrilling train chase to pursue a thief. Right there. And the animation for this film is very realistic once again. Paddington interacts with objects that aren't animated, and it really makes him seem like he's actually there. Paddington is even very realistic. He's still got the detailed fur, eyes, and feet. Right there. And also, the more clumsy scenarios he gets in here are still funny. And they're still pretty sarcastic, too. And no matter how much it gets twisted and turned, it's not a complex and perfected art house film. It's a very cozy and very funny family movie about this bear that got convicted of theft and winds up in prison, actually dyes all the prisoners' clothes pink, and then ends up working as this marmalade cook in the prison kitchen, and starts winning the prisoners' friendship over time. So, now we get on to how beautifully this movie ends. Where, after Paddington has been saved, he ends up in a coma. He wakes up on Lucy's birthday, finds out he's back at home. We find out that while he was unconscious, he got cleared of all charges. Buchanan got sent to jail. The book is now in police custody, though, as evidence for Buchanan's crimes. The book that Paddington wanted to get for Aunt Lucy, now he probably has no chance of getting it now, because it's in police evidence. But, however, it turns much... We find out downstairs that the neighbors all applaud Paddington for everything he's done for them. Right there, the Browns and the neighbors all praise Paddington for everything he's done for them. And the very last beautiful shot to end this movie is, to his delight, he finds out that they've arranged Aunt Lucy to actually come to London and visit Paddington right there. He hears a knock at the door. He opens it. Aunt Lucy greets him. And Paddington, closes out with this beautifully heartfelt quote, "I love you, Aunt Lucy." And the movie ends right there. it wraps up beautifully. Perfectly right there. And like here though, since this is my first time watching it, now I gotta watch Paddington in Peru, and started to wonder something. What if this was the last Paddington movie they did? If it was, then I would have been satisfied. If this was the last Paddington movie they did, I probably would have been very satisfied. Because that last shot, to me, is kind of a little... It's kind of hard to top that last beautiful shot. With Aunt Lucy and Paddington reuniting for a visit. And they just hugging each other in this kind of like little tearjerker moment. Which, like, that scene right there... When I saw this, when I was just watched this scene when I was watching the movie a few hours ago, at the time of recording this, I actually kind of nearly cried at that moment. Like, that was such a beautiful shot to close out this movie. Like, I kind of forget you're watching a family film. Right in that bit. And honestly, I'm still going to watch the third film and review it, but this would have been a perfect spot to wrap it up. I mean, Aunt Lucy and Paddington like reuniting for that little hug, and Paddington's telling Aunt Lucy he loves her, and fading to the credits like that. That's definitely kind of an ending that'd be pretty hard to top. Right there, but that is how Paddington 2 beautifully wraps. Paddington's clear of all charges. The criminal's now caught, and Paddington's Aunt Lucy will be visiting London since the Browns and her neighbors had arranged for her to do so. Now, that being said, would I have bad qualities with Paddington 2? Well, I guess maybe the story's not all that great, but it's not supposed to be great. I don't care if it's great or not. I don't care if the story's great at all. Like, it's still a movie that makes me fall in love with this lovable character of Paddington. And like the Brown family, like they're even better portrayed in this movie. The movie isn't about the story. Who cares about the story with this stuff? Like, the story, like, some of the stories would be predictable, but these predictable stories, they find a way to really make them work. Right there. So I, honestly, you know what? Forget I said bad qualities. I don't care about the bad qualities. So you know what? I have no bad qualities with the film. Zero. Because I think Paddington 2 is an even better sequel, and it's definitely one of the best family movies of the 2010s. So in the end, Paddington 2, yeah, obviously, it's obviously worth a buy for your collection, because this is a movie that is even more worthy of a watch than the also great first film. And it's definitely an example of how you do a sequel. It's today's world. Anyways, guys, that's it for my epic movie review of Paddington 2. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Paddington 2, here's how I'm going to rank this movie. So overall, if you love the first film and want to see a perfect example of an even more epic and even better sequel, I would totally watch it by Paddington 2 for your collection, no doubt. And if you're wondering how I'm going to rank Paddington 2, I am obviously going to give Paddington 2 a very well-deserved damn 10 out of 10. Alright, here we go, guys. The unbearable weight of massive talent is right. Paddington 2 is indeed one of the greatest films of all time. That movie was right about that. Loved watching that. That was fun. But Paddington watches aren't over yet. I gotta watch the third film now, which I'll go see in the theater, because it's in theaters. Yeah. Now I want to know in the comments down below what you guys thought about Paddington 2. And until then, that will be it for this epic movie review. Thank you all for watching. If you like this and want to see more, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Don G. Corleone.